If you're running a completely stock 389 with the correct heads and a completely original tri-power, you really don't need any of the information in this section. But the truth is, even if you think you're running an original center carburetor, it might not be. So I'm going to go into how to modify these carburetors, sometimes just to get them to run right and otherwise for more performance. I talked a little bit in the last section about problems with idle. If you're not getting enough fuel at idle, it could be that you don't have large enough idle circuits. And I get modified motors that are more than 400 cubic inches. If you've backed out your idle adjustment screws all the way and it just doesn't seem to do any good, usually you'll get an erratic idle up and down. You're just not getting enough fuel and the engine's searching. So if that's the case, what you may need to do is open up your idle circuits, and there are really two ways to do this. If you remember from the earlier area, I talked about these are the idle pickup tubes on the back of your Venturi cluster, the thin ones on the end, and they're narrowed down at the end. If you have, say, a 66 tri-power, but you have a substitute center carburetor, it could be off a 326 or a 350, and these orifices at the end where it's pinched down will be too small. Basically, the way I test them, this is a 30, it should be for a 389 or a 400, the hole in the end should be 32 thousandths. For a 421, it should be 35 thousandths, and for a 455, I usually go up to, oh gosh, it could be 40 thousandths or more. This is a bit vise, and this is a small drill bit. You have to order these in a kit. They're not expensive, but this is a 32 thousandths, so I haven't tried this before, but actually this one's not quite 32 thousandths. It's giving me a little resistance. Now I'll completely drill it out here and we'll see. There you go. It's not much. Of course, you want to blow any material out, but do both the tubes. You can consult with me about what size to make them, but minimum 32 thousandths. Like a lot of times on a 60, 59 up tri-power, if you end up with a small Chevy carburetor on the middle or parts from a small Chevy carburetor, they were only feeding a 265 or a 283, maybe a 307, maybe a 327, probably would have much smaller orifices there. The other place to check for the size, I think I said this wrong earlier. When you remove the idle adjustment screws, you can see a hole that leads all the way through into the Venturi area here. That hole should be 50 thousandths, and that's a number 70 drill bit. And basically you can put usually it will be, I usually put the drill in there and see if it's the right size, and if not, put it on your drill and carefully drill through there to make it 50 thousandths. I usually don't open up further because you've got a taper on the needle, and if you can open up too much further, you're going to have problems. So make sure it's at least 50 thousandths. If you have more problems than that, give me a call and we'll work on it. So those are the ways to modify your idle circuit. I usually do it a little at a time. If you have say a highly modified 455, once you make them too big, you're in trouble. So I usually open up a little at a time, give it a try. Again, this is only idle, won't affect running down the road at all.